The next section is the anatomy of a website. I was working with someone recently who wanted to build a website and they used vibe coding to do it. So whether it was VW or Cursor or any of the other huge amounts of AI building website tools out there, he was asking me questions and I asked him what was his backend, which now that I say it out loud, maybe sounds a bit like an innuendo. But basically the anatomy of a website is you have, and not all websites, but this is going to be for larger scale websites, you have a front end, back end, database, and how they communicate with each other. So these are the core concepts. You have a front end, which displays to the user. You have a back end, which does all the logic. So let's say you wanted to ask what's 2 plus 2 equals 4. This is a very simplified example. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Maybe the back end does the logic, does the math, and then it presents 4 as the answer, and the front end displays the answer. Then you have a database which stores the data. Think about Airtable, think about Excel. Excel is basically a database system. So you have Excel, database, and then how they communicate to each other. One example I heard someone use that I really, really liked was a restaurant. So the servers are the people who you interface with. They're the front end. The kitchen, the cooks, the staff back there are the back end. They're whipping up all the magic. They're doing the cooking, they're preparing. Then the pantry where the food is stored and all the supplies is the database. No logic, nothing. You take the food from the database, the cooks prepare it in the back end, and the servers are the person you talk to. Then you have the way that they communicate with each other. So this could be the food runners. You know, sometimes when you go to nice restaurants, you have someone who isn't your server come and deliver the food, and then they leave and they take up the food and take it away. That would be your communicators. So, and many times that could be JSON, that could be API calls. There's a whole bunch of different ways to go about this, but I want to give you an idea of the anatomy in order to have a basic understanding of what's involved. A lot of times Claude, ChatGPT will oftentimes do the front end without necessarily doing the back end. Or what they'll do is they'll do the front end and add in logic into the front end, which isn't the best practice. It does make it work, but it's not always the best way to do things. So anyways, we're going to get into it. I'm going to give you a little example. I'm going to do a little walkthrough about what it looks like on a website.